Welcome to the Healthified Family Podcast. My name is Christy Dugan, and this is my friend Ashley Romney, and I'm excited to have her on the show today because we are going to talk about essential oils and birth and how you can safely use those to help your birth be more relaxed and peaceful and feel good.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
All right. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah. So my name is Ashley Romney. I have been using essential oils and learning about them and studying about them for 9 years, and I absolutely love them. I love just how God and this universe has provided all of the plant nutrients that we need for our bodies, and we can find those in so many plants. And then I just work with teens and women and really anyone on holistic and subconscious health. So just helping people to just thrive inside and out.
That's amazing. Yeah. And that's exactly what I feel like we need as women, is this other side of health where we're taking care of our body, mind, and spirit as a whole and not compartmentalized. You go to a neurologist, or you go to a cardiologist, or you go to a podiatrist, or you go to a dermatologist. Like, every part of our body is us. And if we treat it as a whole, something you treat your toe could affect your brain. Like, it's all connected, right? So that's beautiful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I also feel like it's so important to note that anything that is happening outside is most of the time just a message for something happening inside. And that's one of the pieces of why I love essential oil so much, is it's actually addressing both at the same time. Like, every single plant has an internal message for us and can heal us, like internally meaning the mind, and internally meaning the cells and organs of our body.
Yeah. So I was hoping you could share with us some of your favorite essential oils for pregnancy and how they can treat some of the common ailments of pregnancy. Now, in my book, I teach that you can avoid these, ailments. You don't have to experience them in your pregnancy or your birth. In fact, you can just kind of write those out of your birth and pregnancy plan. Like, okay, you don't have to experience constipation. You don't have to experience, what's it called? Heartburn. I was going to say heartache. You don't have to experience that either. You don't have to experience these things that are just kind of, people are like, oh, that's just a given. You're pregnant. You're going to experience that. But you don't. If, however, you do experience any of these common ailments, what are your go-to oils for those things?
Yeah. So first, let me put a really big disclaimer. In my experience and experience with many midwives and doulas that I have researched and learned from, pure oils really are safe in pregnancy. They really are great and healthy. But the brand and the quality of the oil that you are using is vitally, vitally important. I personally choose DOTERRA just because they're third-party tested and they're grown in their native land, and they are just incredibly pure, and they make that known to the public. Like, every single bottle of oil has a code on there where you can see that testing. So just to put that out there, that's really important to know, is what kind of oils are you using, and is there fillers? And sometimes there can be fillers when it's not said on the bottle. So just being so aware of the oils that you're using. Mm-hmm. Okay, so some common ones might be, so like constipation. doTERRA has a digestive blend called DigestZen. You can take that internally. You can just rub it on your stomach. You can rub it on the bottoms of your feet, and it enters the bloodstream within seconds. So that's one of my favorite go-tos. Peppermint.
DigestZen. So my nephew, he was a colicky baby. Like, oh my gosh. I think my sister-in-law went through so many bottles of DigestZen with that little guy. Up until, I don't know, it was like 6 or 8 months, like he was kind of older, but almost from day one, he just had like tummy troubles, and she would just rub that on his little belly and he would stop screaming. And
oh my goodness.
So yeah, I'm like, I have experience with that one. Like I've times on my kids, but I never had a colicky baby like that. But just seeing, like, sometimes if I was babysitting, like, oh wow, like he totally calms down. So yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is so amazing. It doesn't surprise me, but it's just so fun and beautiful to hear personal experiences like that.
Yeah.
So then peppermint or fennel can also be really helpful. And then I personally love, and especially in pregnancy, taking some lemon oil, just 1 drop for every 4 ounces of water in my water, and it just helps the digestion. So good. For swelling, there's a massage blend that's so helpful. So it's cypress, lavender, ginger, and lemon mixed together.
That sounds like all good too.
Yeah, so good. And if you just mix that with a little bit of carrier oil, that could be fractionated coconut oil, that could be almond oil. You can just keep it in a roller bottle, or you can just make it right there on the spot. But just massaging it can be so soothing to the body, to the legs, to the feet.
Yeah, cypress is a circulatory oil, so it helps with the circulation, like blood circulation. So that would help with edema and swelling and all of that. Yeah.
Yes, so good. Fatigue. And so doTERRA has a blend called Cheer that is really good for just that invigoration and just lifting you up. Or you can blend.
What was the name again?
Cheer.
Okay.
Or you can blend up some wild orange, some lemon, some grapefruit, and some peppermint. Nice. And that's just great for fatigue, for helping you cope through all of those trimesters that can be draining, right?
Especially the first and the third, where like the first trimester, you're just like tired because, you're making a little human, and it is like your baby is growing and doubling in size like so fast in the first trimester. And because they're so tiny, we don't think about that, right? Like the baby didn't grow that much in the first trimester, but from this like microscopic to, like, I don't know, the size of a lime or something, like that's a huge growth, and your body is doing that. And so you get super fatigued. And then, of course, in the third trimester, you're just so heavy and you're just so tired. And you're like, am I done yet? Right. So that sounds invigorating.
Yes, so much. And then for headaches, I love peppermint or copaiba. And it depends on where you're getting your headache, but you can like just apply it gently to the temples. With peppermint, I like to dilute it just because it's such a strong oil. Mm-hmm. And a note of safety, when you're using these hot oils, if it starts to irritate your skin, don't add water to it. Water will just drive it into the skin more. Yeah. So dilute with go put some coconut oil or something on it to dilute it a little bit, and the irritation will go away.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially like cinnamon or clove or those hot. Yes. We have, I've had a child get into those oils and screaming because it was burning, and we just slathered him in olive oil and he was good.
That's amazing. For nausea, there's 3 main ones that help that are my go-tos. That would be peppermint, cardamom, and ginger. So once again, you can take those internally. Just smelling sometimes just takes that nausea away. Like even just inhaling from the bottle can sometimes just be so soothing, or to put a diffuser next to you and just have it going.
Mm-hmm.
For muscle cramps, I love Deep Blue. It's a blend made of peppermint and trying to think the other kind of mint.
Wintergreen?
I have to go. Yeah, wintergreen. Yes, thank you. So that's one of my favorites. I love that doTERRA has this roll-on where you don't even have to get your hands sticky with it. You can just roll it on. And that saved me during my 3rd trimester. That full-on saved me.
Yeah, seriously.
Is one that I do want to mention is just the mental health and wellness of the mama is so important during pregnancy, because as science shows, that then goes on to the baby, right? And so happy mama, happy baby, like literally. And so as you're using these oils to support you mentally, and like I was saying, every oil has a message, like to literally lift and support your spirit that is living in this body, so that you can truly thrive inside as well.
Yes, I love that essential oils, like they have an emotional side. So we can use them for these physical things. But let's say that you're feeling anxiety. Let's say that you're feeling frustration or, depression or whatever. How do you use oils to support you through emotional?
So this is my favorite book ever. I recommend everyone get it. It's called Essential Emotions. And you just like every emotion you can think of is in the back of this book. And so you can go, oh, I'm feeling some despairing. Okay, some Melissa oil, some bergamot oil, some eucalyptus would be really good for me right now.
Nice.
Let's go to anxious, because that is a very common one. So with anxious, it says
up to labor and delivery, so many women get anxiety that it's going to be scary or dangerous or painful or whatever. And like huge in the last few weeks of, or just like they're tired of waiting. Like, when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? And that can cause anxiety too.
Absolutely. So some really good ones for that. And I love it. There's so many. Like, so if you don't have one, go to the next. But basil, neroli, past tense, console, serenity, and adaptive. Adaptive is a blend that doTERRA has. And those are all so powerful. The only one that I am strongly aware of not to use during pregnancy is clary sage. But you will want to use clary sage when you're at that very last moment.
Yeah.
And it will help you to start contracting when your body is ready to do so.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a key point, because I don't remember which baby, but I think it was my 3rd baby. I was pregnant I went 9 days over with him. I've gone further since then, but that was the farthest I'd gone. And I was just like, oh my gosh, am I ever going to have this baby? And I used clary sage probably from like 8 weeks on. And he was, like 1 week, days, whatever. So when your body's ready, right? It's not going to just kickstart contractions like, oh, I put on some clary sage and bam, I had the baby, right? I do feel like it helped, and it's very, for me, it was helpful with afterbirth contractions, like toning the uterus for afterbirth contractions. But yeah, it didn't just bam kickstart labor. Now it has the potential to, and so it is not safe to use earlier than 37, 38, whatever, when when you're full term. But yeah, I was like, everyone talked about how, you know, this will get you going. And I was like, yeah, no, my babies come when my babies are ready, and only then. And I can eat a whole pineapple or spicy food or do mile circuits or whatever. The babies come when the baby's ready.
Absolutely. Yes. Mine went 2 weeks over, and so many people gave me a hard time. And I'm like, nope, I am sticking to letting the baby choose.
Yes.
So,
and that was my best, like my best labors are ones where I do nothing to try to induce myself. Like I just let the baby come when the baby's ready to come. And it works so well because you're not stripping membranes, you're not doing any of those things. And so it's completely natural. You have all the hormones and stuff working in your favor. You're not trying to I don't know, like imitate that synthetically or whatever. It's your body just doing what it's meant to do. So yeah, good for you.
I love that so much, because my husband and I are so into what would Adam and Eve do? Like, how did God design this world in the original state?
Yeah.
And Eve would not go to the doctor to
get Pitocin.
How beautiful that we have that if there's an emergency.
Yes.
But for the most part, just allowing the body to do absolutely what God designed it to do.
Yeah. Yeah, because it can. And I mean, in the animal world, how many times, like you look at mammals, how many times do they need a C-section? How many times do they need, and not to say never, but it's almost always throughout history been about 4% of pregnancies. And yet in some states, it's almost 90% C-section rate. What? Like, that's insane. And why? Because they are starting to induce now at like 38 weeks. They're saying you're full term. It's not safe to go to 40 weeks. It's not safe to go to 41 or 42 weeks. So we should just, you know, baby's cooked, let's get them out. And that's going to cause all sorts of other unnecessary medical interventions. They are going to become necessary, but they wouldn't have been necessary had you just waited, right? So yeah, I am super thankful that God created our bodies to do exactly what they're meant to do.
Absolutely.
Give it a chance.
I love that. I love that so much. So if you really are in that stage of you're ready and you're using clary sage to amplify those contractions when they begin, myrrh is great. So those two together are really powerful to work with the body, with the baby as it's ready to help it go. Myrrh is safe on its own. It won't cause any problems that way. I do want to note really quickly, though, I am not steward over your body. And so anyone that's listening to this, please use your intuition. And if you feel there's an oil that you shouldn't be using that's outside of clary sage, like listen to your body. This is full on intuition and being the steward of your own body.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, myrrh, I've used myrrh on my baby's cord stump to help.
Oh yeah, yes.
Yeah, like if it was just taking a little longer or getting kind of, you know, stinky, whatever, like using myrrh. Now, myrrh itself is kind of not the best smelling oil, but it helps to, it's like an antiviral, antibacterial. And so that one, almost all essential oils are, but it really helps with that. And I think it's interesting that, you know, the wise men brought myrrh and frankincense.
Absolutely. And I love that you brought that up because it is really powerful in helping with the mother-child bond when we're talking about the message of the oil. And myrrh also represents Mother Earth. So just how beautiful that is the oil that helps with that.
Yeah.
A spiritual practice for many is when the baby is born, putting a little bit of frankincense on their forehead and down their spine, just as a helping them to feel safe and grounded. And frankincense actually represents Heavenly Father. And it can also just be a powerful father connection. And so it can be a little bit rough having the baby go from heaven to the mother's body to where am I now? And that's just a really powerful way to just ground them and help them know that they're safe and that it's all going to be okay.
Yes, I really love that because, you know, in ancient times, anointing was very common practice. They anointed people's heads, they anointed people's feet, they anointed with oil. And, you know, ceremoniously, some religions still do anointings, but most, like, culturally, it's not really a thing. And I love how you said, you know, you putting it on the forehead and down the spine, like you're anointing your little baby. And I see an anointing as like a blessing, or almost like you are setting that baby apart, like a distinction. This child is from God. This child is being, you know, given back to God. Like he's caring for. And yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. The body knows exactly what to do with its plant material. It's like, it is that God designed it that way, right? And it says, like, in the scriptures all the time about using plants and herbs as your medicine, and essential oils are literally like the purest parts of the plant. And they're just a huge blessing to us.
And I love how, like, homeopathics, essential oils, there's so many other things that have very little or zero side effects.
Yes.
And you don't have to worry about, well, now I'm going to have this issue, which I might have to counter with this, and I'm going to have an issue from that, and I'm going to have to counter with this, because your body's just using those natural, not synthetic, not man-made things that, like, oh, okay, I know just what to do with this.
Absolutely. I love that you said that. I couldn't agree more.
It would be interesting to hear about your own birth, and not when you were born, your child, and how you supported yourself during that time, like mentally, emotionally, physically, etc.
Yeah. So I had a midwife and a doula, and I gave birth in a birthing center. And I'm so grateful for it. It was a beautiful experience. It was a hard experience. It was not a pain-free birth. And I'm so excited for the next one, whenever that is, to be more based around your book and to learn the principles so that it can be. But thank goodness that I had a doula who was also just an expert in essential oils. And so she was using those oils on me the entire time, supporting me, because it was a very painful transition. And it was many, many, many hours of labor. And to be honest, it was so intense that I know there were times where I fully like checked out, spirit left, and my doula's like, come back. But she just kept gently using these oils, and it just helped me. And I don't look back with any trauma on that experience. I am just so grateful that I was able to do it fully naturally, that I was supported by these oils. Without any interventions. I'd say a really huge, I'm trying to think of what oils she was using that were like the biggest. I know she was using myrrh and Melissa a lot. Melissa kind of takes you back to your inherent identity in a way. Like, it's just so... Let me look up the message of what it is.
It's like supports like the solar plexus chakra then, like yourself, like your powerhouse, your
Yeah, that's not one that like I think of at the very beginning, but yes, I totally would put it there. Melissa represents light. It awakens your soul to truth and light. So it can just, and people use it for depression or suicide ideation is a powerful way to use Melissa. But to me, it was just helping me connect to, I am doing this for a reason. There's spiritual guidance here. Everything's going to be okay. And I remember being so out of it during this labor. And I asked my doula, this is the one thing that I deeply remember. I said, why do I have to go through this? Why does everyone have to go through this? Why does it have to be so hard? And she's like, this is making you a queen. God and Heavenly Mother have been through things that made them kings and queens. And it's not that life has to be so hard all the time to make you a queen or a king, but it was just in that moment that I was reminded of truth, that my body was doing what it was meant for in order to take me to that next layer, to that next ascension, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. You cannot, there's just things you can't understand in life. You have to know the bitter to know the sweet. You have to have opposition in all things. And we want, life to just be easy peasy. And we are in a fallen world, in a fallen state. Life isn't going to be that way. And even, for Heavenly Father, right? Like, he still has children who make wrong choices. He still has, his child, the devil. He still has these difficult things that, that are going to happen. And he's got to be strong enough to get through that and to not, put that on himself. This is my fault. I'm the worst, like all of those things. And we have to get to a point where we can say, this doesn't mean anything about me. And I can do this. I can get through these things. And if we never experienced those, we wouldn't be prepared to be in those higher, in that higher level of existence, of vibration. We couldn't. And so we have to experience some difficulties. Not that we should expect life is just going to be hard and life is awful and whatever. No, but be prepared that there's going to be curveballs thrown at you, that there's going to be ups and downs, natural disasters, like all those things. And you can get through. Yes. You can make it through. It's going to be okay. It's going to happen. And it's not a punishment or whatever, just life. But here's some tools to help you through that and transcend that.
I love that. You're teaching all the things that I just love speaking on so deeply. I always say we're learning heaven. We're not earning heaven. We're learning it. And you learn it through the ups and the downs. But I also like to say, how good can I stand it? Because sometimes I think we're addicted to the problems and the drama. And I'm like, how good can I stand this? And that might be a fun question to ask those that want a pain-free birth. Like, how good can I actually stand it?
Yes. Because it can be euphoric. It can be such a spiritual, like, bonding experience. And there are women who are like, it was amazing. I want to do that again, right afterwards. And for most women in, modern society, that is not the words that come out of their mouth. I remember with my first baby, I was like, I know I said I wanted 12. I think maybe one more at the end. Like, it was not a good experience for me. And I like to contrast that with my last birth with my twins. After, like, yeah, it was intense and whatever, but it wasn't painful. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can give it another go. Like, no big deal. Within, hours of having them, that's where my thoughts went. Not, okay, well, I'm going to give myself another 5-year break, or like none of those thoughts. And that's so different. That's so different. And it can be just beautiful. It can feel good. And people laugh at that. I posted a YouTube video just yesterday, and talking about, pain-free birth, and talking about what's possible. And someone just put a bunch of laughing faces, like, ha 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 ha, like, you don't know anything about birth, kind of, just like dismissing it. And I'm like, oh, that's too bad. Like, you don't know how amazing it can be. Like, you can dismiss me, that's fine. I don't have to be for everyone. But it made me kind of sad that, like, they won't even consider that, because it sounds so far out there from what we've been taught.
Yeah, that really is heartbreaking. I think your mission is so beautiful and so huge. I think it's huge in helping us get back to our Mother Eve roots in the first place, right?
Absolutely.
And waking people up into, like you said, ignorance. Like, they have no clue to this possibility and what could be possible if you let your mind go there.
Yeah. And if you expect it, it's okay to expect miracles. It's okay to expect good things. It's okay to expect this is going to feel good. Not, okay, prep yourself, brace yourself. Okay, we can do, like, that's kind of what most women go into labor with, right? This resistance.
Yeah.
They know it's happening, but they're resisting the whole time, mentally, emotionally, physically. They're clenching, they're tightening, they're resisting because they're terrified. And they're going into birth with fear. And that's kind of what I feel called to share, is like, birth is not supposed to be a scary, fearful event. It's what we were made to do. I can't stress that enough. Like, why did you write a book? Why did you, I wrote it because God told me to. I wrote it because I hear so many women say things like, I'd love more kids, but I can't really have more. I wish I could have more, but my pregnancies or births are so hard, or all these things that I'm like, oh no, like, we can change that. This is a possibility. And if you don't know it's a possibility, it's my job to share. This is a possibility.
100%. And sometimes it can feel, in the minds of just our society, of like, God cursed women. Like, it has to be this hard, and this is the curse. And what's helped me so much is God isn't causing any of our problems. He's just allowing life to just play out. And when we choose into the faith and the miracles, oh my goodness, his hand is right there to lift us up.
Seeing God, he asks us to address him as Father. Seeing him as a father instead of a puppeteer, moving all of our arms and legs and forcing us to do things we do or don't want to do, has been so incredibly helpful to me in my life. Like, I do not view God as this mean overlord who's forcing these difficult punishments upon me because I sinned or I made a mistake. Like, he is loving. When we make a mistake, he's not like, haha, told you so, should have listened to me, son. He's like, okay, I'm here, are you ready to turn to me? Right? I'm waiting for you. And that's such a different view than I think the devil wants us to have, that he's just a mean, nasty God who, like Zeus, like throwing lightning bolts at people and doing things for fun to mess with us, etc. And that's just not at all how I feel God interacts with his children. And what you said about Eve, I've seen so many Christian women so confused about Eve. In fact, some curse her name, some really despise her, some say, I have nothing good to say about Eve. She destroyed our lives. She really messed things up. A lot of men say that, you know, the females, here's the female getting in the way again, or doing, you know, like these, I just, is so sad to me, because Eve was such a good woman who made such an important choice. And even if you believe, which I don't, but even if you believe that she was cursed because she ate that darn apple, even if that's your belief, if you believe in the atonement of Jesus Christ, that is removed, that is taken away, and we do not have to experience that. And it's just sad to me to see so many people like mad at Eve and cursing Eve and upset by Eve, when I think that's just man's translation of the Bible, and it is not meant to be that way. And I don't think God's mad at Eve. He's like, boy, you sure ruined our plan. He had the Savior all prepared to come and before Adam and Eve fell. And yeah, I feel personally a connection and a love for Mother Eve, and not at all, no animosity or disdain or rejection or frustration towards her. Like, she made a really difficult choice, and it has blessed all of us in the end.
Couldn't agree more. I could not agree more.
I would love to discuss that, because I know you have experienced postpartum depression, and a lot of women do, and a lot of women have this idea that they're just going to, and so they need to eat their placenta or whatever thing to stop postpartum depression. And for me, I'm like, no, that's just one more thing you can not include in your birthing pregnancy plan. Like, you do not have to have postpartum depression, even if you've had it before. That's it. It's not, oh, well, because I've had it before. I've had a sliver before. I don't always get a sliver every time I walk on, wood. Like, that's silly to think this experience, I will always have this experience because I've had it in the past. So how do you support postpartum depression with?
Yeah. So as people know, typically everything revolves around nutrition. So having enough nutrition is huge. I will put that as the foundation of making sure that your body has adequate essential fats, adequate protein, adequate vitamins, minerals, like all of that will play a huge play into it. To support you through postpartum depression, there's a few blends. One is a drop of rose, a drop of wild orange, and 3 drops of sandalwood. Another one is a drop of lavender, 3 drops of grapefruit, and a drop of lang lang.
I love that one. Lang lang is, yeah.
So sweet, yes. And then another one is a drop of bergamot, a drop of grapefruit, a drop of clary sage, a drop of wild orange, and 3 drops frankincense.
Awesome. Yeah. Those all, like, I'm just like smelling them in my mind. Like, those are all so lifting. Like, there's like grounding oils, and there's oils that are, just on a higher vibration, right? And all those ones that you mentioned, I feel like are just invigorating, and they're going to lift you up.
Yes. Yes. And taking time to honor your feelings and emotions that are arising, but using these oils to support you. So trusting that they can take you to that higher elevation, while also honoring right where you're at. I'm not trying to bypass of like, oh, you feel depressed, like instantly sweep it away. No, it's okay to honor those feelings too. And what can you do to help support your mind and body to feel a little bit of a lift? So both are useful.
I like to do that with any sickness. Like, if I get a cold, if I start feeling body aches and chills, like, oh, I might be getting a fever or a flu or something, I do not just start, eating every vitamin and nutrient and throwing in all the essential oils and all the homeopathics. I usually give myself a couple of days to see how my body is going to process it on its own. And then I use intuition to see, maybe I should take some zinc. Maybe I should up my vitamin C. Maybe, whatever. I don't just immediately start like barraging myself with all the things because this is bad and I shouldn't experience it. And say, no, this is part of life and it's okay. And maybe my body is just telling me, time out. I've had too much stress. I need a break. I need to rest. I need to sleep. And okay, I can roll with that without trying to resist and fight. So I love that point. There's no reason to resist or fight postpartum depression. You can just move through it. Like, it's not a place that you stay at. It's not a destination, but you can experience it and move past it. Or you can just move past and not take a stop there, right? Like, it doesn't have to be that way. But if it is, we don't have to, get out of town as quick as possible. Like, okay, what do we have to learn here? And then we move on, right?
I love that. So beautiful, so powerful.
Thank you. I can hear your little guy in the background. That's so cute. How old is he?
He's 3.5.
Oh, that's a fun age. I have almost 3.5. He's almost 4. He'll be 4 in September. And he is just a chatterbug. He's our loudest child. He's our 8th child. And I think he just feels the need to be heard with all the older siblings and the babies getting attention. And he's just like, Mom, I did that. I'm like, shh, I'm right here. I'm literally right here.
Too cute. It's a crazy but fun age, right?
Yeah, because they want to be so clever and grown up, and you still want them to be your baby, and they're like, not a baby, I am a big boy, I do these things. Okay. So that's fun. Well, thank you, Ashley. I super appreciate it. I think that our listeners are going to really enjoy this. They'll probably be taking notes of like, oh, this is good. Oh, I need to note that one down. Oh, these are some blends I might want to get before I, am pregnant, or if they are already pregnant, before they go into labor and postpartum and whatever. So I appreciate your time, and I'm just so grateful for this knowledge and the opportunity to collaborate with other knowledgeable mothers and friends and people who think along these same lines, that the world has what we need to support us through every stage of life.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, you are so welcome. Thank you for your mission, your message. Like, it is all so vital, so important. And I think it was saved for such as a time as this. Like, the world has never been more out of alignment with what it's supposed to be, and yet you're bringing it back. You get to contribute to that.
I've seen that. People like recognizing we're off kilter here. Like, we've got to balance, and they're returning. They're making a return to more authentic, natural things. Like, people are making bread at home. They're making cheese. They're raising chickens. They're coming back around, because 60 years ago, that's what everybody did. And then we had this whole fling of, we don't need that, and man can do all things, and man can be on the moon, then man can make his own, whatever. We don't need to nurse our babies. We can bottle feed. All this, like, just shift away from nature, which is funny. I think it's kind of funny. Like, during the 60s, this whole hippie movement was all about like nature and whatever. But on the other side of the hippie movement, there was such a push away from that it's like we just swung the pendulum so far in the other direction. And now people are going, I don't think it was a good idea that we drank so much Kool-Aid as a kid. Maybe Kraft mac and cheese should not have been our staple in the 90s. Like, and we're coming back to this, alignment with Earth, with what feels right. I mean, you were laughed at 20 years ago if you talked about your feelings. And now people are like, oh no, like, oh, I just feel it. Oh, I vibe with that. They use these nobody would have used when I was a teenager. That was ridiculous. But they're feeling it, and they're going, this is necessary. We need to come back to this. I feel like it is a good time for this message to go out where people are looking for that. I was afraid I would be laughed at, and sometimes I am, but there's a lot more people liking and sharing and saving and, encouraging me, like, oh, thank you for sharing this. This is so amazing. I get much more of that response than the scoffing and the laughing and the you're crazy. So I agree. It is a time. It is the time for it. So.
And honestly, that's sometimes what I use to measure truth. Is it being pushed against? There's some truth here.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you.
Courage.
I appreciate that so much, and we're going to wrap up here. So, thank you to all of our listeners for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye.